My name is Paul Monares, and I just wanted to hop on and tell you my story. Hopefully, it's not too dark and awkward here, but I am out here in the desert, in the border of on the border of Nevada and Utah, on the Nevada side, and I've been on a journey, and I just noticed it's 8:28. That's what time I was born, and yeah, I want to get into the math of how I see my birth chart with using the system that I've created here, connecting frequency and time. So, my birthday is 11/18, November 18th. I was born in 1977. I was born at 8:28 a.m. and I created this cipher system using time and frequency. The calendar system is what we measure time with, and we measure time on our watches with 12, two sets of 12 hours a day equaling 24 hours. And we also measure time when we play music. So they all correspond with each other. So I lined up 1221, the date winter solstice, with 1221 hertz. And then I counted back from that, connecting to the calendar, and it lined up perfectly with my Djed pillars that I channeled on 8/8 of 2022. Um, the Djed pillars, referring to the emerald tablets of Thoth the Atlantean, whenever he channels or he actually gets initiated into the halls of Amenti and is introduced to the Lords of the Nine, and it's the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, the 8, and the 9. And whenever I read that book, I was perplexed with who these beings were, and after months of reading this book and listening to the audiobook on 8/8, that's when I decided to line up the 3, the 4, the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 with 396 hertz, 44 with 417 hertz, 55 with 528 hertz, 66 with 741 hertz, 88 with 852 hertz, and I decided to mirror them because whenever I mirrored them, they were making the shapes of the areas of the chakra to where whenever I mirrored the 33, it was I turned it 90 degrees and it looked like the ovaries. That rhymed. Pretty cool. Whenever I mirrored the 44, as above, so below, it literally created the cube and the cross. So I knew that the sacrum was masculine. And I just started to see this system as a sigil system. So I created the Djed pillars on 8/8 of 2022. Thoth is related to the planet Mercury. Mercury controls the right side of the masculine brain, which runs at 8.8 alpha waves, and it takes 88 days for Mercury to travel annually around the sun. So, whenever I did this, it was after I had read the Book of the Law, and that's written by Aleister Crowley, and he also created the Thoth tarot cards. And the day that I read the Book of the Law, this is when things got fucking weird. Like, I'm not even a fan of this guy. Like, could really like care less who this person is. He could just be an allegory in the holographic universe and just a digitized code of what this mathematics is. Anyways, I read the Book of the Law, and I got to the part where he was in Cairo, which his wife, Edith Rose Crowley, told him that he was going to channel Aiwass in Cairo, and Horus would be communicating through Aiwass to him, and he was like, okay, so they go to Cairo, and sure enough, he channels Horus through Aiwass, and in the book, he says, it's 4/8, I'm in Cairo, it's 1904, and it's noon sharp, and I'm channeling so-and-so, and He's channeling Horus, falcon sun god. So I decided to document my date and time, and I look at my phone, and it's 4/8. It's noon sharp, and it's 2021. Exactly 117 years later on the dot. And what's funny is in the king's chamber, the sarcophagus in the king's chamber of the Great Pyramids of Egypt, the vibrational value of that sarcophagus representing death measures at 117 hertz. Now, my grandmother, she passed away on the 117th day of the year, and she struck her favorite tree down by lightning and literally took that thing with her to the next dimension. And 117 hertz vibrational value. And I recently found out that Carl Jung, he passed away on 6/6, the 157th day of the year. When he passed away, he struck his favorite tree down by lightning. You can Google it and look that up, and it's a true story. So 117 minutes equals 157 in time. So 117 is a huge number in electromagnetism. And so from all those coincidences so far, we've got a nice list going here for, and this is all about synchronicity. Horus, the falcon sun god. So if you're observing the sun from the longest day of night to the longest day of sunlight, your winter solstice to your summer solstice, it's 183 days. So that number 183 is a huge number whenever you're measuring time. So I'm just going to throw it out there that in 1830, Horace Mann, a Massachusetts legislator, advocated for all the public school systems around the country here. And his name was Horace Mann, just like Horus, the Falcon Sun God, in 1830, you know? And just like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 on 528, like 528 hertz, your solar plexus chakra, where your inner sun, 528. So 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like 528 hertz. So anyways, like, I'm just going to throw out the plagiarizing of this narrative that's been fed to us for so long, without putting this all this colonial history and all these colonial genocidal events using these numbers. Like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, when 1830 equals 18.5 hours, equaling 1110 minutes, like the Days of the Dead on 11/1. I'm just going to blast through this real quick and get back to what I was originally talking about. So, in 1850, that was when the first jail was built in Coloma. That's at Sutter's Mill. And Brigham Young, here in Utah, he sent his Mormon battalion over there to basically strike gold so they could pay off his debts for him traveling to California to Utah. And it took him 111 days to travel from there to Utah. And he was responsible for the Paiute massacre it was the Circleville massacre, but he massacred all the Paiute Native Americans that were the original caretakers and stewards of that land. And he genocided them, and it was on 4/21, the 111th day of the year. Not only that, the railroad system from Sacramento, being sacrament meaning ritual, from there to Promontory Point, which was the overland route. It was basically connecting the train track from Omaha, Nebraska to Promontory Point, and whenever that was finished on 5/9, like the Lemuria, honoring the dead, Romo kills his twin brother Remo, 1/8/1. It's like the Encomienda system, all these Days of the Dead honoring these colonial systems. The Encomienda system started in the 1500s. The Spanish crown released the Encomienda system, giving Spanish conquistadors the right to basically enslave anybody that was on the land that they were claiming. And Come means 8, Comienda means dinner. 181, like Resolution 181, passed on 11/29 of 1947, whenever British gave Palestine over to the UN, and that was basically going back to the Balfour Declaration back in 1917, and that was a letter signed to the Rothschilds, who passed away, one of the guys that passed away today, Jacob Rothschild. Later, buddy. um, that was signed on 11/2, just like the Day of the Dead, with 59 days remaining in the year, just like the Lemuria on 5/9. Romo kills his twin brother Remo, and so the twins are basically your 44 hertz and your 432 hertz, because your 444 hertz or your 440 hertz is your Ro Mo. The etymology for Ro means man. The etymology for Mo means more. More man sounds like a religion, huh? A really dumb religion. More man. And more Ray. Raymo. More Ray. That's the etymology for Ray is hidden reciprocating wealth. Your hidden property. So whenever you look at the note Ray, so you could look at it as, you could get your electron charge, your phi 1.6 electron charge, times your 10 to the negative 19th power, which that's your negative ground. 10 to the negative 19th power is just negative 180. So you could multiply it by negative 180, and it equals 288 hertz, which is a digital root of 9 hertz, which is basically note D. It's Ray in the solfeggio scale, and it's whatever A is tuned to 432 hertz, and it's your digital root of 9 hertz, and it's the ninth note. So Ray Mo is our inner ray, that's basically our inner light that's basically sprouting out from our soil, which is a potential thought of our future. What's the word? It's the new version of self that you're working on with this new idea or whatever. Once that light comes up into yourself, you can be running either at 440 hertz or you could be running at 432 hertz. And if you're running off somebody else's ideas and somebody else's thoughts, I believe that's more the 440 hertz. Whenever you're running on your most authentic thoughts based off of all of your coincidences in your story, no matter how anybody thinks or feels about you, like whenever you're honoring that, I feel like that's when you're in your 432 hertz. So anyways, Romo is 440 hertz. Remo is your 432 hertz. Romo kills Remo. The masculine shuns the feminine, because your digital root of 9 hertz is your feminine, and your 44, that's your, basically if you mirror four fours together, it makes the cube, and it's your masculine. The square is your line. So, which now brings me to that train track. I forgot. I don't know if I mentioned that the length of that train track was 1110 kilometers from Sacramento to Promontory Point, and also it cost $181 billion to build that thing with no change. And Brigham Young, it took him 111 days exactly to land in Utah on Pioneer Day, which is a huge holiday. Pioneer Day. Everybody in Utah thinks it's some fun little holiday about pie and beer, but that's on the 724 181, your resolution 181. Genociding, encomienda, 181 times 4, your square, equals 724, your Pioneer Day. And that's, he massacred the Paiutes at Circleville Massacre. Circle, Pi. And that was on 4/21, the 111th day of the year. Just like the Indian Removal Act of 1830 and the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, and 1830 in military time equaling 18.5 hours, equaling 1110 minutes, like the Days of the Dead on 11/1. So the sun dies on the celestial cross. The Son of God died on he was crucified on 12/21, the winter solstice, and he died for 3 days. He was dead for 3 days, and on Christmas Day he was resurrected and born again. So if you watch the sun from the same spot every day and see where it sets on the winter solstice, it sets there on the same spot for 3 days, and then on Christmas Day it starts going back towards longer days of sunlight. So on 12/21, in essence, the sun actually dies on its celestial cross, the path of the sun being the vertical line, the horizon being the horizontal line. So 111 plus 1110 equals 12/21, like your Days of the Dead on 11/1. So all of this allegorical stuff in the narrative, genociding all these people in Palestine on 11 from a bill passed or from a declaration passed on 11/29 being the 333rd day of the year. 111 times 3 equals 333. Days of the Dead, 11/1. Resolution 181 with 181 days equaling 5 months and 28 days. I'm just trying to ingrain this shit in your minds to where you see how much this is being used, because you can Google any of these events and you're going to get these exact numbers. So I arrived to Utah on 12/21 of 1999, and I was born on 11/18 of 1977. And whenever you line up 12/21, the date with 12/21 hertz, and counting backwards into time, 12/21 hertz minus 33 hertz equals 1188 hertz, which is the root harmonic. It's actually the 27th harmonic in 440 hertz, which has a digital root of 9 hertz, and it's actually the measurement of the Queen's chamber, 11.88 cubits, including the gable. And I have 1188 lined up with 440 hertz and 417 hertz and 1166 hertz on my sacrum monogram chakra chart, and 1188 lines up with 1118, my birthday, because 12/21, the date, minus 33 days equals 1118, just like 12/21 hertz minus 33 hertz equals 1188 hertz. So this is how I lined up all the dates with the calendar. For example, at the throat chakra, I had, when I built the Djed pillar, 33, 44, 55, 66, when I got the 77 lining up with 741 hertz at the throat chakra, this is where I had 12/21, the winter solstice, lined up, and on the other side I had 1133 hertz, from the crown being 1111 and counting down on the side. Basically, I was creating the shape of a torus with these numbers, to where these numbers were all mini toruses within the giant torus that we are, to where it's just a number that's digesting another number. So we digest thoughts. So the gematria for thoughts, ions, the all mind, all of those words equal 99. So we literally are digesting electrons or ions. Ionization is the energy necessary to separate an electron from an atom through photon absorption. So 1111 divided by 99 equals 1122. 1122 divided by 99, your thoughts, your ions, your the all mind, equals 1133. So it was all just making sense, to where I had 88, 852 hertz, and 808, and 1122 hertz, and then 1232 on the end. The 1232 was the last number that basically is whenever you're going down from 1111 to 1122 on the Djed pillar, the complete Djed pillar chart. 1111, 1122 on the third eye, 1133 on the throat. So whenever I lined up the dates of the calendar, counting back from 12/21 equaling 12/21 hertz, when I got to 1133 hertz, the date 9/24 is what landed on there. And what's crazy is, after, like, a year later, I found out that 77 years, 77 equals 924 months, and then 741 minutes equals 1221 minutes in time. And that's when I started to just kind of lose my shit, and I knew that this was the system that I basically kind of created by accident. We're channeling Thoth, channeling Horus, these beings of higher mathematics and higher knowledge, was able to create this system. But yeah, so 741 minutes equals 1221 in time, and 77 years equals 924 months. 924 lined up with 1133 hertz on the throat chakra. And so whenever I channeled the 181 monogram, that was on 5/19 of 2022, and 519 plus 222 equals 741 hertz. 519 days equals 74 weeks, and 1 day like 741 hertz. And this was 11 days after my mother had told me about the story of Romo and Remo, and I'd never heard of the story. And she's like, you should research it. And it's like, okay. And on 5/9, I go to research the story of Romulus and Remus, and I'm reading Romulus slays his brother Remus, and the Lemuria celebration where they're honoring the dead happens on 5/9, 5/11, and 5/13. And I'm thinking to myself, today's 5/9, and I look at my phone, it's 5/9. At this time, like I've already experienced the Crowley, channeling the Crowley incident, and after the Crowley incident, I channeled, or I actually did the tarot card reading for the Aleister Crowley Thoth cards for the first time. And whenever I did that, it was on 4/20, the 110th day of the year. And the first card that I pulled was the card of change. And whenever I read this, it told me that the planet Mars would be in the sign of Capricorn. And I go to look at my phone, and sure enough, the planet Mars is in the sign of Capricorn. And I'm in disbelief still. And I read the card reading, and it's more describing the collective situation of what's going on with the masses around the world versus generalized interpretation of what's going on in my life. At least that's what I felt whenever I read it. And then I pulled the next card, and it tells me that Jupiter is in the sign of Capricorn. I go and look at my phone, and sure enough, Jupiter is in the sign of Capricorn. And this is where, after having the experience with the Book of the Law, and then these two cards pulling up, this is within a 10-day period or an 11-day period. Let's see, 4/8 to 4/20. No, it's a 12-day period. So anyways, that was on 4/20, the 110th day of the year. And whenever I built my Djed pillar chart, the 33, the 44, the 55, 66, it was in increments of 11. So if you count down 33, 22, 11, and if you add a 0, you got your 110, your 220, 330, your 440. Why is that important? Because 110 hertz is the root harmonic and 440 hertz in the second octave. So now we're dealing with music. And whenever you get the number 137.5, the number of photon absorption and broken space-time symmetry, like literally broken space-time symmetry. Now we're talking physics and measuring space-time and photon absorption, orbs absorbing light. So 137.5 times 0.8 equals 110 hertz. 137.5 times 16, or 1.6, equals 220 hertz. 137.5 times 24, 2.4, equals 330 hertz. So this basically builds a pyramid, and if you, instead of doing 8, 16, 24, you can actually put them in parentheses of 8 plus 8 plus 8, so 137.5 plus 8 plus 8. 137.5 times 8 plus 8 in parentheses equals 220 hertz. 137.5 times 8 plus 8 plus 8 in parentheses equals 330 hertz. So now we're building the dead pillar using the number of photon absorption, and whenever we're putting those 8s in parentheses and adding them, that's actually a sigil for your DNA. And whenever we get up to 550 hertz, we're adding 8 or 5/8 in parentheses, and this is where your oxidative phosphorylation is happening, right? 528 hertz is the center of the electromagnetic color spectrum, and it's the only number that connects the electromagnetic color spectrum with the sound system. So, your piezoelectric crystal technology that we are, a crystal runs perfectly at 32,768 beats per second. We have a piezoelectric crystal, like a liquid crystal technology within us, and 32,768 seconds, or 32,768 hertz, is when sound ends in the human ear and electrical ultrasonic acoustic waves begin connecting to the DNA. So that's whenever ultrasonic acoustic waves begin connecting to the DNA. It's when sound ends in the ear and electrical ultrasonic acoustic waves begin. So whenever you have that song in your head, when you're just thinking to yourself with your inner monologue, that's your inner speaker system, your inner microphone screen system. You can't make microphones or speakers without quartz crystal technology. You can't set time and watches without quartz crystal technology. They make sonar equipment with quartz crystal technology. So 8 times 8 times 8 times 8 times 8, 8 to the 5th power, like your solar plexus. 137.5 times 5/8 in parentheses added equals 550 hertz. So 8 to the 5th power equals your 32,768 beats per second. So that connects. Remember how on the digit pillar going down from 1122 to 1133, 1144 in your heart, 1155 solar plexus, 1166 at the sacrum, 1177 at your roots, going back up, 1188 at your sacrum, 1199 hertz is at your solar plexus going up. The Earth-Moon ratio, 1199 hertz divided by 327, your piezoelectric crystal, is your Earth-Moon ratio. And that alone right there, that connection, when I found that, I didn't even know what to do. So I'm going to just get back into what I originally was going to talk about. And I was going to talk about my birthday chart and let you in on some things. Excuse me. So, I was born on 11/18, 1977. I was born at 8:28 a.m. The Earth, or the Sun, travels around the Milky Way galaxy at 828,000 kilometers per hour. Now, whenever you count back from 1221 hertz equaling 1221, the date, so 1221 hertz minus 33 hertz equals 1188 hertz, sacrum on my chart, and 1221 minus 33 days equals 1118, my birthday, and that lines up with the calendar chart on the Djed Pillar chart. So, this is the 322nd day of the year, just like your skull and your crossbones and all that shit. So, whenever I counted back on the calendar chart from 1221 equaling 1221 hertz, when I got to 126, January 26th, that mirrors the summer solstice. So 126 mirrors 621 summer solstice. But whenever I got to here, the hertz landed on 0. So this was like the center point, a pivot point, if you will. So from 9/11 to 126 equals 137 days. the number 137 is another number of the fine structure constant 137. So counting back from 126, going backwards in time, whenever I got to my birthday again on 11/18, it lands on 69 hertz, negative 69 hertz. So keep all this. I know that this information is probably super hard to absorb and retain. I just know it so I can see it all, and it's tough to see what I'm seeing. So whenever remember the winter solstice, how 12/21, the longest day of night, to summer solstice equals 183 days to 6/21, the longest day of sunlight. So on summer solstice, that's the longest day of sunlight. This is the day that the sun transits the sign of Cancer, and Cancer is sitting at 90 degrees square on the zodiac wheel. 6/21 divided by 90 degrees square equals 6.9, the actual sigil symbol for Cancer. So 690 minus 69 equals 6/21, your summer solstice. So the sign of Cancer and your Pythagorean right triangle, your Pythagorean 3-4-5 right triangle. Nobody teaches you about this in school, but 3-4-5 plus 3-4-5, your Pythagorean triangle, equals 690, just like 90 degrees square is a right triangle, just like your Pythagorean right triangle. 621 divided by 90 degrees square equals 621 divided by 90 degrees square equals 6.9, like your sign of Cancer. And Cancer is sitting at 90 degrees on the zodiac wheel, and summer solstice is 172 days and 173 days on leap year. 172 plus 173 equals 3-4-5, Pythagorean right triangle. Full on circle, connecting this equation, locking it in. So I was born at 8:28 a.m. 69 hertz, negative 69 hertz lines up with 11/18, counting back from 126, equaling 137 days after 9/11. And I was born on the 322nd day of the year. And I left on my journey exiting the Matrix, standing against colonialism on 11/4, November 4th of 2023. 11/4 of 2023 plus 303 months and 22 days, equaling 114 days, is today when a parasite vanished from the earth, playing with my magic. And yeah, I was born on the 322nd day. 11/18 equals the 322nd day of the year. 1,118 days equals 3 years and 22 days, like 11/18 equaling 322. Crowley joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn on 11/18, a day that he would mark for the rest of his life, and he destroyed the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn because he had a premonition of them killing his daughter, which whenever he went to Cairo, I know that they didn't like that in my remote viewing, and I know that they put a bad, they did something to his daughter, and he had a premonition about it. I've read about it in many scholarly articles studying him. He was in Coloma, he was in Grass Valley, in Nevada City, in all these mining towns, studying colonial magic whenever he was with his wife and trying to do something good. But I think he did turn to the dark side after his wife and daughter were basically like, who knows what they did to him what they did to them whenever he wasn't around to like protect them. But this isn't about him. This is about the ancients, Horus and Thoth, and this system of seeing time, and we're connected with time. We have a piezoelectric crystal technology. They use quartz crystal that vibrates at the same hertz that it does for us to hear our own inner monologue. We're hearing this inner monologue, that song in our head, that imagination. That our thoughts, our voice isn't coming through our ear. It's coming from this other system, just like the microphone technology and speaker technology requires crystal. So, born at 8:28 a.m., the sun travels around the Milky Way galaxy at 8:28. Summer solstice, 621 divided by 9 degrees equals 6.9. 690 minus 69 equals 621. Summer solstice equaling 172 to 173 days. 172 plus 173 equals 345. Your Pythagorean right triangle. 345 plus 345 Pythagorean right triangle equals 690, like your Cancer sitting there at 90 degrees square on the zodiac sign. Now on 5/19 of 2022 is whenever I channeled the 181 monogram. 181 days equals 5 months and 28 days, like 528 hertz, the center of the electromagnetic color spectrum. When you get the number 181 and you flip it 90 degrees, it literally is the sigil of the electromagnetic color spectrum. It's the crab. So I channeled the on 5/19 of 2022. 5/19 plus 2022 equals 741 hertz. 741 minutes equals 1221 in time. 1221 days equals 174 weeks, like 174 hertz, your solfeggio tone chakra. So 519 minus 138 equals 381, just like 381 minutes equals 621, the summer solstice. 381 mirroring 183, like 183 days between the winter and summer solstice. So 519 mirrored is 915. In 2023, 519 and 915 were both new moons, but 915 divided by 5, mirroring 519, equals 183. 183 mirrors 381. Remember, 519 minus 138 equals 381. So January 1st, 101 plus 138 days equals 519. That's why I subtracted 138 from 519. So that makes any sense. January 1st plus 138 days equals 519. 519 minus 138 equals 381. 381 minutes equals 621, the summer solstice. Mirror that, 915 divided by 5, your 5 platonic solids, equals 183, mirroring 381. 183 days between winter and summer solstice. So 741 minutes equals 1221, remember? So 519 plus 1221 equals 1740, like 1221 days equals 174 weeks. So 915 minus 741 equals 174, like 741 minutes equaling 1221, and 1221 days equaling 174 weeks. So you see, channeling this sigil on that day is something to think about. I'm not trying to pedestalize myself or sound arrogant. I'm just telling the story because it's fascinating to me. You might not give a shit about it. You might think that I'm schizophrenic, or I get that called probably a couple times a month. So it's usually by people that are just their whole entire social media is just all selfies and nothing, no knowledge about. They've never researched anything in their lives. They've just been gallivanting on genocided land, you know. Yeah, so your Pythagorean 345 right triangle. I was born at 8:28 a.m. 345 days equals 8,280 hours, like 828, like 345 plus 345 equaling 690, your Cancer, and like negative 69 hertz lining up with my birthday, 11/18. And yeah, what does this mean? I don't know. On Christmas morning of 2022, there was a hawk outside of the front of my house and basically got a hole blasted through its chest. And I was sitting on the toilet taking a shit, and I was trying to stay asleep, so I kept my eyes closed so I could like go back in my room after I was done. And whenever I heard that, it was so loud, and I just saw this giant white light, complete oxidative phosphorus, putting the Horus in the phosphorus. So yeah, I went out there, and this thing literally had a hole in its chest about that big. I got the remains and buried him in the front of my yard at the time, the house that I was living at. I've been living in my Jeep for the past almost 4 months now, since 1/1/4/11/4. So yeah, the lady that I was renting from, rather than a landlord, she evicted me and gave me my eviction notice on 10/7, the day that Gaza, or the Palestinians, got their eviction notice, and that's whenever I knew something was up. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna lie. That's when I had the final straw, and I was like, I'm not signing this contract. And got the eviction notice on that day, and started my journey whenever I left on 11/4. And 114 days later, we have a Rothschild pass away. One less Rothschild. So yeah, the plagiarizing of this amazing mathematics and knowledge, that 183 days between the longest day of night and the longest day of sunlight, and the Egyptian falcon sun god Horus, representing the grand rising sun, Re, 432 hertz, digital root 9 hertz, the feminine rises, and at the 90-degree mark at the masculine, that's where the 6 mirrors the 9 at the masculine. So whenever you notice the stars rising from the eastern horizon, and once they get to the 90-degree mark, when you're looking straight up, you'll notice that the stars that were on the left and on top, when they pass over, the stars that were on the left and on top are now on the right and on the bottom. So everything mirrors and flips, and that's why you have a 69 rather than a 9 just mirroring a backwards 9. So whoever observed this way back when and created this mathematical system that honors the feminine rather than the math that we're using today, and the knowledge that how they've inverted the language, it's with the squaring of the circle and the alpha over the omega, all that shit it's a shunning of the feminine, of the reciprocation of how this real math really actually works, the way that it cycles. So so yeah, I've been on this journey for 114 days today, and I had a massive, massive download. I'm kind of my crown chakra is kind of fried from all the posts that I posted and all the artwork and connecting that I made today. Basically had the epiphany of connecting Romo and Remo with 44 hertz and 432 hertz, and those are the actual twins. And the way that I came up with this was by the deciphering of the calendar, because On the calendar, at, on the date 8/22, I have that lined up with 1100 hertz. And on the date 9/1, I have that lined up with 1100 hertz. And I don't know how I don't know, I can't remember how I did that, but I just trusted that that was supposed to be there, and I just made it work. And once I finally figured out how I did it and made sense of it all, it was in place. So I find out that 8/22 is equal to 432 hertz. And how is that, you might ask? How could 8/22 equal 432 hertz? So we have to measure a little bit of time here with using a time measuring system to connect this. So we use, if you overlap a compass on a clock, the 30-degree mark lines up with the 5-minute mark and the 1 o'clock. So there's 30 degrees of arc in one pendulum second. And so 30 days equals 720 hours, equaling 43,200 minutes, equaling 2,592,000 seconds, like 25,920 Baktun, the precessions of the equinoxes. So this equals 8.22% of the year. So 8/22 is equal to 72, and it's equal to 432 hertz because it's lining up with the precessions of the equinox. It's lining up with 432 hertz. It's lining up with 72 pendulum swings per 60 seconds. And we're already using the comparison of 30 degrees of arc in one pendulum second also equals 5 minutes. So 50 days, like 30 degrees, lining up with 5 minutes on the compass on the clock. So 50 days equals 72,000 minutes, equaling 7 weeks and 1 day. 7 weeks and 1 day equaling 72,000 minutes, equaling 4,320,000 seconds, equaling 13.7% of the year. So the number 137, the fine structure constant, lining up with 8/22. So 60 digits of time on a clock. Let's just drop that 0, and 137 times 6 equals your 8/22, which on my calendar chart it equals 234 days. Like the Earth's tilt and your heart tilts at 23.4 degrees, and 23.234 mirrors 432, just like 43,000, just like 43,200 minutes equals 8.22% of the year, like 432 hertz, lining up with 8/22. So now let's go to pillar 9/1, the date 9/1, how that lines up with 1100 hertz. So this ends up being the 244th day of the year. 61 circles in the flower of life times 4, your 4 square equals 244. 244 minutes equals 404 in time. Now, these are your two twin pillars within the calendar, and so 660 minutes equals 11 o'clock. So this, like, 666 is lined up at our heart. So these are like our heart pillars, and yeah, I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck all this shit means. Check it out. 9/1 times 4 square equals 364. 3 hours and 64 minutes equals 404 in time. See that? So, there's 61 circles in the flower of life. 61 times 4 square equals 244, which 9/1 equals 244 days. Now there's also 19 circles in the flower of life. 190 minutes equals 310 in time, when 910 minutes equals 310 in time, converted from 1510 in time. So in essence, the 910 equals 190, the 19 circles in the flower of life. Bear with me. So 190 weeks equals 1331 days, when 91 minutes equals 131, when 1331 in time converts to 131, just like how 190 minutes equals 310 and 910 minutes equals 310. See how that like converts? So these, in essence, these numbers like correspond with each other. So 1100 hertz, how 91, the date lines up with 1100 hertz. 1100 hertz minus 910 equals 190. 72 pendulum swings per 60 seconds on a clock. 910 minus 720 equals 190. See how trippy that shit is? So, where was I at? We're on the 9-1 pillar, just seeing how it connects with the flower of life and 440 hertz. In the Book of the Emerald Tablets, Thoth mentions break free from the halls of Amenti and break free from the flower of life and rise into consciousness. And I feel like that's the goal here, is to break free from this, the narrative that we're being fed in this reality, and just the plagiarization. Oh, I've been sitting in my Jeep literally all day. And it's really comfortable. I've actually had really good, normally whenever I sleep on a bed, I wake up with my lower back killing me, and sleeping in the Jeep, the lower backs had no issues whatsoever, to where I'm just wondering if it's the beds that I'm sleeping on. Are they just bad beds, or am I absorbing the energy that's on them? I don't know. But yeah, I'm not claiming to be better or higher than anybody. I just have this knowledge that I need help teaching this and having people listen, and I need a place where I can have a whiteboard or do podcasts in a more professional setting and have like-minded people that are trying to learn and integrate this knowledge, because I feel like it's just beginning. Like, creating this, I was able to see all of the plagiarization, but I'm not trying to sit here and focus on all that bullshit. I'm trying to see what good can we use this knowledge for, and how can we honor it and bring back the voices of the ancestors that were all deleted from all of these indigenous Indian Removal Acts and Fugitive Slave Acts, which these people were the innocent original stewards of this land. They weren't slaves. Like, the name slave was put on them by these colonialists, these settlers they were the foreigners, and they were creating these laws and labeling these people as slaves, and they're still just mocking the shit out of them. Like, look at the Super Bowl. We had the 49ers playing the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs won, but still the 49ers were the miners that genocided and stole all the land from all the Native Americans, and that's literally how this entire Turtle Island was built. And the train system was just the very beginning media system, the news and the mail and information communication. And look what they're doing with the information and communication systems nowadays. They're still using this system to basically just bamboozle everybody. And I'm done with the Matrix. I'm still trying to create some progress, and with this foundation that I've built, and that's why I let go of everything that I built before and basically tore down the whole entire house and tore down the basement, tore down the foundation, and I built the foundation super solid to where now I'm ready to build the house and build the story based on this foundation of truth versus the inauthentic storyline that I was following, that I just was indoctrinated with just being a conditioned person on these lands, and not knowing the story of these potential people that were genocided. And yeah, they deserve to have their voices heard. And there's genocide happening right as we speak right now over in Rafah. These people are getting pushed out by the millions, and hardly anybody's standing up and saying shit. Not enough people. We need everybody, and it needs to be peaceful and intelligent, and we're literally breaking old spells, because the people that inverted the language are from an Anglo-Saxon era. They basically stole the knowledge from the shamans, from the witches, from all the occultists that were using this knowledge for good, genocided all of them, put bounties and gave tons of money for their heads, and hoarded that knowledge, and basically were just sitting above the pyramid looking down, laughing. It's like, they don't know shit. We know all the knowledge, and they don't remember any of it. Create the narrative, and we'll use the numbers of the Falcon Sun God, and we'll connect it to all the genocide that we've done. And yeah, bastards. Well, I feel like I'm babbling, and it's dark, and I'm probably creeping you out. Sorry, I'm not much to look at. Scout, stop licking your balls, dude. Jeez. Alright, let's end on Scout licking his balls.